Previously, we looked at the simple if statement, and the example we used was to calculate gross pay using two if statements. The first if statement looked to see if the hours worked were less than or equal to 40, and if that was true, then the gross pay was based on straight time, hours worked times rate. The second if statement looked to see if the hours worked were greater than 40, and if that was the case, then the gross pay was based on time and a half for the hours worked over 40. The problem with this statement is that we have two ifs making comparisons when we really only need one. And we can do that using something called an if-else statement. Let's take a look at the general form of that statement now. An if-else statement starts out just like a simple if. We have the keyword if followed by a relational expression. If that expression is true, then the statements inside the statement block under the if are executed. If, on the other hand, the relational expression is false, then the statement block under the else statement is executed instead. The block under an else looks just like the block above the else. It begins and ends with curly braces, and it can have multiple statements. But it is only executed if the relational expression in the original if statement is false. Now let's go back and look at the gross pay program again. To make this program work with an else, all we have to do is replace the second if statement with the keyword else. Now, when we run the program, if the hours worked are less than or equal to 40, the first statement block is executed. Otherwise, the second statement block is executed. Let's run the program to see what happens. We'll enter 40 hours here for hours worked, and we'll enter $20 for the rate of pay, and the gross pay is at $800, so clearly the first statement block was executed. Let's run the program again. This time we'll enter 45 hours for the hours worked, $20 for the rate of pay again, and the gross pay is $950. So clearly the second gross pay calculation was performed. The if-else statement is always preferred to the if statement if you're going to have to use multiple ifs and there's a choice between two different outcomes. Hours worked less than or equal to 40, hours greater than 40. There's another solution for if you have more than two possibilities or two possible outcomes, and we'll look at that in the future. Before we end this topic, though, I want to talk just a little bit about style. A common style in C++ is to put the beginning curly brace of a block on the same line with the statement that starts it. So in this case, we could move the beginning curly brace up to here. We can do the same thing for the else statement, or the else clause, like so. Notice that saves us 2 lines of code and is just a little bit easier to read. The compiler really doesn't care which style you use, and the style you choose is really up to you. I will begin using this style for the rest of this course, but you can continue to put the opening curly brace on a separate line or bring it up to the line above if you choose. Another thing I've failed to mention is the use of indentation. Notice how the statement block inside the if is indented. That makes it easier to read. The compiler, again, just like with where the curly brace goes, doesn't care if you indent or not. But indenting your statement blocks inside ifs and other statements like that will make your code easier to read for both you and other people who are reading your programs. In my next video, we'll talk about the complex if-else statement.